Live from our studios somewhere in cyberspace, it's Beats and Eats, a happy hour for your mind. The virtual lounge is open, so come inside, grab a stool and your drink of choice. And now, here are your hosts, Ty Ray and Nick Gelso.
The virtual lounge is open. It's Ty Ray, Nick Gelso, and yes, it's another edition of Beats and Eats. I haven't said that
in quite a while.
In a very long time.
It's been a while. I've been saying it, which is really weird. Yeah. But
and I've actually said it myself on another episode, but to get you and I together, I think the last episode we did was with Lydia Cornell.
Yeah, it was. It was right around the New Year, wasn't it? Or
yeah, right around there. I'm sure she's marching somewhere today.
She might. She might be marching in her backyard.
Yeah. So, hey, before we get started, let's give out our Twitter handle.
Yeah, why not? Coog. I'm at CLNS_Nick, and even at this time of morning, Ty, it is still tricky.
It is tricky, just like right now. This nation is tricky.
It is really
the letter N eats. It's a strange time, Mike.
Ty, I'm finding myself. I'm finding myself watching TV in kind of just utter disbelief.
Yeah, it is pretty surreal. And yesterday, Nick, as we record this episode, I think I find myself just kind of in disbelief, just like you, but also a bit confused and wonder where we're going. And the sun did rise today, so the world did not end. But I was just shocked, Nick, at just how small everything felt yesterday to me.
Yeah.
Now, I was thrilled, as always, proud to be an American because the transition of power can go so smoothly. But everything seemed so small yesterday, just in my opinion.
It did. It was compared to 4 and 8 years ago. No question about it. I mean, it's a confusing time, isn't it?
Yeah, there are a lot of worried people out there, and I think people were expecting at the inauguration, at his speech, for Donald Trump to reach out.
What did you just say? Think about what you just said. Now, wait a minute. We've been doing this podcast for 3 years. So what? A year and a half ago, Trump announces literally for the last 16, 18 months, let's put it this way, we would not be chosen for Donald Trump's cabinet based on our loyalty, because we have been, whether we've supported him or been against him, regardless, we have absolutely doubted him constantly. So I can only imagine how Chuck Todd feels.
We've done that consistently, right?
Yeah.
We've done that over and over again. We had Bob Shrum, one of the people that I admire most in the political field, on our program, basically say there's no chance Trump is going to win.
I have to go back to one of the multiple appearances we had with Roger Stone, where and this was not after the primary. This was very early on in 2000, in his announcing his candidacy in 2015. So it was probably maybe August or September of 2015, Ty. And Roger Stone declared Donald Trump would be the next president, and we both were in the host chat here, kind of LOLing to one another, like, where do we go with this? Because it was so outlandish to hear somebody say that.
Well, he's so over the top to begin with.
Well, he is, but take that out of the equation. I mean, there were people who saw this coming, but very few.
Some people did see it coming, and Michael Moore, of all people.
Oh, yeah, he totally
Moore,
did. Who Yeah, but he did.
This coming.
He did. He totally did. And he went and made the rounds in support of his. I don't want to call it a documentary. It's more like a stand-up or a monologue.
Right.
He made the rounds.
You gotta
give him credit.
Yeah, I give him credit for that. Yeah, he went out and about, and the movie, I believe, Nick, is called Trumpland.
Yeah, I saw it. Did you?
Yeah, and he went out and he spoke to Donald Trump supporters, and I remember him going on Real Time, one of my favorite shows with Bill Maher. He was on HBO, and he said, hey, knock it off. Donald Trump could win, and of course he got heckled and booed, and he's like, I'm not kidding. And he was right.
Another one was, we said Roger Stone, we said Michael Moore, Jeffrey Lord, who is the Trump supporter of all time. How is he not vice president, Jeffrey Lord from CNN? I mean,
he reminds me of Dark Helmet from Spaceballs.
I'll tell you, I really like him though. He cracks me up. He cracks me up because he's predictable and he's self-deprecating too. He'll make fun of himself.
Yeah, it's easy to make fun of him, but he was right as well. And I wonder what his future is, if any, with CNN, whose ratings have taken just a huge hit during the inauguration. Nobody's watching them. It's pretty fascinating. I don't know. Did you see the ratings today? They came out.
No, what was was it Fox?
To the inauguration, who watched, who didn't watch, on what channel?
Fox?
Oh.
No, I'm asking who led.
Bonanza. Yeah,
for Fox?
That's what I'm saying. A ratings bonanza, up 107%.
Oh, my God. Ty, I got to say, I'll watch Fox and I always have, because I like both sides of the view as much as much as Bill O'Reilly annoys the hell out of me. I watch him not every night, but every a couple times a week. Let's put it that way. But with the exception of a few stars they have there, everybody else is just so bad.
It's awful.
I don't know how they rate.
Going to NBC.
I love NBC. You know that.
Oh, right. I know you're a huge Brian Williams fan, and I watched him yesterday, actually.
I did, too. That's who I watched. And
I thought he was pretty even-handed, actually.
He was pretty. I think he almost has to be, because Rachel Maddow was ready to cry at every transition. So you have to balance out that idiot. I mean,
Rachel's still waiting for Bernie Sanders to take.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Office. I mean, I can't tune in. Let's put it this way. I am a Democrat, but I'm probably more of a liberal Republican, right? Because
You're moderate.
I'm moderate, but I'm fair, right? I love Chris Matthews. He's so liberal, right? I love him. I can't stand Rachel Maddow, and I can't stand that goof before her on the MSNBC lineup either. That Chris
Hayes, yeah.
He's just her. He's the male version of her, which. They're the same. It's the same show. It's basically like 2.5 hours of the male and then female perspective on Rachel Maddow's point of view.
And I know how you feel about Lawrence O'Donnell.
Oh, dude, I don't understand why they put Lawrence O'Donnell or Rachel Maddow on their anchor desk with Brian Williams. It's almost like an insult to Brian Williams. I mean, I'd put Chris Matthews on there for the liberal point of view. Now you got Greta. I'd put Greta on there for the conservative point of view. Boom. You got three really reputable people. Instead, he's putting Lawrence O'Donnell, who I don't know who could watch him. I don't know the last time I watched more than 3 or 4 minutes of his show. And who's opposite of him? Hannity? It's brutal. But anyway, you get rid of Lawrence O'Donnell, you get rid of Rachel Maddow, and you put in Matthews and Greta, and you're good. Boom.
Well, they're no doubt going to have to revamp their programming, I would think, with everything that's going on.
I think it could only be going up for, MSNBC has struggled so badly, and I am an NBC guy, not an MSNBC guy, right?
Right.
Although I do watch it now occasionally, because I always watch Chris Matthews. I'll watch if Brian Williams is on occasionally, depending on who he's on. If Anderson Cooper's on, I'll watch him. But boy, Donald Trump just trounced on CNN in that press conference, and it's clearly hurt them in their ratings.
It has hurt them. They were down. I have the numbers here, like I said, 52%. And I don't like where this is going, where the White House can shut down whatever media they want. I don't like that at all.
It's kind of always been that way.
We have to have a free press.
I agree, and I'm kind of scared about the way things are going in a lot of ways. Go ahead. I'm interrupting you.
No, we have to have a free press. I think that is critical to our democracy, and it can't be used just to filter the good information out. So I see 4 years already of a war between the White House and the press.
That we've not seen in probably 40 years.
Correct. I don't know if we've ever seen it.
Nixon had to be. I mean, of course, yeah. I'm looking at high lowlights maybe of Nixon interacting with the press. I don't know what he was like in wholesale, but in small sample sizes, he was pretty contemptuous. They had a bad relationship with the press.
And think about it, of course, back then, you had the big three, ABC, NBC, CBS.
AP.
And then you had the Washington Post and the New York Times, right?
And the AP.
Those are the people you were dealing with. And today it's endless. It was BuzzFeed who put out that dossier that that wasn't substantiated about Trump having the Russian prostitutes and the golden showers.
Yeah.
And BuzzFeed put that out, and then CNN mentioned it, and that's what sent Trump over the top.
The edge.
I still wanted to get your opinion, though, on the inauguration itself. We kind of took a
we took that's no shock. Yeah, that's no shock.
Yeah.
The inauguration.
I just want your impressions.
Yeah, I think it was kind of underwhelming. I mean, I'm a big guy for ceremonial stuff, especially stuff that has historical applications. That's why I love a lot of the European traditions. But so I think the American, we do it really well when we do it. But yesterday wasn't when I say our, I mean the U.S.'s best foot forward in regards to how it went. Like the parade, it almost went until 2 a.m. It felt like they didn't have the timing down right. I think that obviously the turnout was not nearly as high as it was for Obama, and also the caliber of the acts were kind of off base a little. I mean, and we know the reasons why. That said, there is no question in my mind now. Donald Trump, full force, 100% thinks he's Frank Sinatra.
He does.
And
how awkward was that dance with he and Melania?
Well, not just he and Melania, like the whole family, they were like mannequins dancing around, right? They were like real wooden and stiff, and it was just, and God bless his son he's a cute kid. He looks
barren.
Yeah, but he's very like awkward, and I think maybe that's the age he's going through. Plus, he's so much younger.
And shame on many on the left who took shots at Barron.
Well, what were the shots being taken?
Just.
Did you think I was going there?
No, I did actually, but they were making fun of him. But I'd like to remind the right that when Chelsea Clinton was first daughter, she was savaged. Rush Limbaugh called her the White House dog.
Right. Yeah. She can haunt the house.
So
yeah.
It goes both ways. Now,
sure, it does.
No,
and I think
beautiful woman, but
I think that Barron is he's a cute kid. He's a typical 10-year-old boy, right?
He is, and he's not going to be in the White House. I don't believe initially he's going to continue at their residence and continue going to school.
No, not until the summer.
Yeah,
in the summer he's going to move to well, who knows what's going to happen, right? I mean,
really,
Trump
all bets are off, right?
All bets are off. Trump may stay in the penthouse of the post office hotel there in Washington.
That's the scary thing to me, Nick, is I'm a big fan of tradition and customs,
me too,
the way we do things in this country, right or left. And it's the unknown, it's the breakaway from tradition that has me terrified.
As someone who enjoys bringing this full circle, someone who does enjoy a lot of the more traditional stuff, I did feel yesterday a general sense that Trump, I was kind of surprised that he seemed to not be familiar with a lot of the customs. Did you feel that way? Like he was being directed a lot as he was in a live setting? Like as if it was,
I think the moment made him look very tiny. Here's a guy that's been larger than life his whole life. Right?
Yeah.
Larger than life his whole life.
Yeah.
And standing next to President Obama, who, by the way, I thought handled things with, I don't care what
you can't. Yeah.
Meaning our audience.
Yep.
He handled it with class and dignity. Think about this. He leaves office after 8 years standing next to a man who spent 8 years trying to delegitimize him.
It's the irony of this whole situation, right down to Hillary and Bill. I mean, all of it, the irony, right down to and we didn't even get there yet, but to the dark tenor of, that aside of his actual speech, take the darkness of his speech and put it aside, he just held nothing back in taking uppercut left and right at the left, at his opponents, really. He did it at the right, too. He was going at the right, too. I mean, subtly.
Right, and I don't think that was the time or place.
I don't either.
This is just me. Inaugural speeches, and I put this on Facebook, and I said, wow, I'm inspired. And I meant that kind of sarcastically because whether you're right or left, I love great speeches.
Sure.
I love calls to action.
Right. Motivational
that make
stuff.
You feel proud. That was just a stump speech. All that was missing was lock her up.
Oh, no, and they were chanting it.
And I was very disappointed in that. I thought that he could have been much more gracious. But then again, I need to have my head examined too, as a lot of people who voted for Donald Trump need to have their heads examined, because he is who he is. He's not going to change. He is a 70-year-old man. He's set in his ways. His way won the Republican primary, and even though he lost the popular vote, which we still need to remind ourselves by almost 3 million votes, he still won the Electoral College, and he's in the White House. The man doesn't have to change. His way worked, and I think people on the left, or even the right, because we tend to forget that a lot of people on the right were never Trumpers.
Right.
Remember?
Yeah, sure.
They need to get used to the fact that this man is who he is and is not going to make any apologies for who he is. So if we expect him to suddenly be gracious and have a shout out to Hillary Clinton, it's not going to happen.
No, but
or to try to appeal to all of us, it's not going to happen.
In the same regard, it's not really frequently I agree with the news, the media, the 24-hour news, but they did say it over and over yesterday. If only he had incorporated some of that toast that he did kind of in the cocktail, in the luncheon, in the inauguration speech, it would have been perfect. I mean, he saluted the Clintons masterfully in that speech.
I did see that too. That was
it made them stand up.
It did, and it was nice. Although, could you imagine what was going through Bill's head or Hillary's head after everything that's gone on? Can you just trash people and then go on your way? And having said that, Hillary and Bill did the same, of course, to Donald Trump as well.
I saw this is really no comparison, but when they had the eulogy at Princess Diana's funeral, that her brother really stuck it to the royal family, and they had to sit there and watch him do it. It kind of felt that way a little bit yesterday about everybody that was in the VIP section sitting behind Trump, because he was jabbing at every one of them, including George W. Bush, who just seemed drunk. He just seemed drunk again, W. I don't know if he's drinking or what, man, but he's just loving life.
He is. Well, wouldn't you, after the 8 years that he endured, right?
Well, and I'm
Hurricane Katrina,
and we got to talk about it. You mentioned it briefly, but before we wrap up here, we've got to go back to Obama. Imagine the sense of relief he must have as he's out there in California right now on a much well-deserved vacation.
What I love about President Obama, and it's not necessarily some of his accomplishments or killing bin Laden. Republicans have been ripping Democrats for years about not being good family people, family values. That man loves his wife. He loves his kids.
Yeah.
And they have a great family.
Yeah.
And they're a shining example, I think, for all of us.
And today we need that.
We do. And he got criticized so much, but that is the one area where you cannot touch him. He loves his wife, and Michelle loves him, and his kids are wonderful. And they never have a whiff of scandal around that family. It's tremendous. They're a great example for everyone, regardless of what you think of his policies. And
I agree.
Actually said that. A very religious friend of mine on the right, far right, by the way, said that to me yesterday. He said, Ty, we've disagreed over politics for 8 years. It's everything. that he is a great example for American families. And coming from him, that said a lot to me. So let's do this, Nick. Let's pay some bills. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about the inauguration. I have a few more things to say.
Sounds good.
Beats and Eats will return after this word from our sponsor.
Ty, did you know that Blue Apron is the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country?
I did not know that, Nick. I will say this, though. I am getting Blue Apron weekly, and I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Right to my door, Nick.
It's amazing. Incredible. Because you're cooking more now, Ty. I mean, remember the days where you couldn't boil water? Well, now you have... Home cooking is accessible to everyone with Blue Apron, and they achieve that by supporting a more sustainable food system, setting the highest standards for ingredients, and building a community of home chefs. This month, Ty, spicy shrimp and Korean rice cakes,
pork chops and garlic piccata, mushrooms and chipotle pepper enchiladas, and lime sour cream. And Nick, I've got to tell you about some of the great experiences I've had already. So peppercorn steak, it was the very first Blue Apron meal I ever had. I fixed it. Amazing. Wow. Fresh peppercorn steak. Tremendous. The other thing that I've enjoyed about this, Nick, is Michelle and I are cooking together. Of course, I'm more on the preparation side, right?
Wait a minute. She allows you to use a knife?
Yeah, I'm cutting up the vegetables. I'm getting to open the packages.
Who was the frugal gourmet? Remember the frugal gourmet on PBS?
I do.
Oh God,
yeah, I do remember him well.
Celebrity chefs before celebrity chefs, anyway.
Indeed, but it's fun. It's inexpensive, and it comes right to your door, Nick.
Yeah, man. For less than $10 a meal, you could have home cooking. You might get Thai inside the Blue Apron box as well to prepare the home cooking, but it will be delivered directly to your front door, not Thai, just the 3 free meals. So go to blueapron.com/beatsandeats. There you'll get 3 free meals, free shipping. Learn to cook like Thai and learn to love life with Blue Apron like me, because Blue Apron, it's a better way to cook.
Nick, as we record this episode of Beats and Eats, it's early.
What, no more Blue Apron, Ty?
No more Blue Apron. I am hungry.
I'm hungry, though, too. Go ahead, anyway. Go ahead.
A lot of people having indigestion today from the inauguration.
I'm having it's from the inauguration. Okay.
It's from the inauguration. But getting back to your impressions of the inauguration, mine was, of course, that it made Trump look small, and I was also very disappointed in his lack of call to action in his inaugural address.
There was no call to action.
I don't think
this is what it was.
You know, you think of the great ones. You think of the Kennedy,
this is not there.
You think of Reagan. No, this isn't even remotely like that. Now, of course, I don't remember any of George W. Bush's either. So.
No, I don't either. I mean, there's very few that you remember if you put it out over the course of 250 years, however many years. So, no, and this is certainly not one of them. And there was no call to action at all. It was basically, here's everything that I feel is effed up, and I'm going to fix it. Just trust me. It was more of that.
And listening to his supporters interviewed yesterday, they expect that from him. They expect him to go in and just wave a magic wand and fix things, and it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't, but the thing is, I mean, do they know something we don't know? Because we keep saying it doesn't work. And not just when I say we, I mean the media in general keep saying it doesn't work that way about this guy. And you know what? It's working that way. Every single thing seems to be. And God forbid if that first one that doesn't work that way and it involves North Korea, you know, I mean, it's nerve-wracking to me. Very nerve-wracking to me.
Yeah, legislation is like a glacier, right? It moves slowly. It doesn't move fast. So I think his supporters are going to be very impatient with him. Now, having said that, he really blew it, Nick, since his election in November with his transition. It's been rocky. We all know that. His approval rating, Nick, I think CBS or one of them or ABC has it at 37%.
Yeah.
Okay, that is by far the low. That's supposed to be the high point of your presidency.
Yeah. I mean,
when you're having your honeymoon, so he starts at a low point. So I think he's going to be on a I don't want bad. Maybe that's a bad way to put it. A short leash, if you will. I think people are going to be very impatient with him.
I think his core will be patient with him forever, unless he backs out of those, those strong fundamental issues he ran on. But that's only 30% of the population, which guess what? That's where he's at right now in the polls, 30%. So approval rating. So, I could tell you this, Ty, and this may be very bold and very wrong. First of all, I want Donald Trump to do really well, because then we all
of course.
I am fascinated with how he won this. I mean, it's just absolutely fascinating. I don't know if I'm fascinated in a good way or a bad way. I'm just intrigued by it. But I will tell you this: I do not feel at the end of 4 years Donald Trump will be our president. I think it's going to be Mike Pence. I think Donald Trump is going to get impeached and beyond impeached, taken out of office. I really do.
It's funny you should say that. I think so too. He has a history of overstepping his bounds.
Everything he's done.
Right. Better be it with women. Let's be honest.
Right.
Be it with business. He has a history of overstepping his bounds and also not being disciplined. Mm. And so I agree with you. I think he's going to do something very stupid that will give the Republicans, because in order to be impeached, he'll need Republicans, right?
Right.
Republicans will.
Oh, yeah, but I don't think that. I think I look at the way Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell and these guys are smiling at him, and I think it's genuine. I think they really want to give it a shot, but I also know how quickly they'll turn on him, because if you think about it, he's not really running on Republican issue, like Republican values for the most part.
No. Other than he keeps saying he wants to repeal Obamacare.
Well, repeal Obamacare and less regulation, okay? But everything else is sounds like a liberal Republican to me.
Well, which
funny. Is really what he is.
He'll say, I want to repeal Obamacare, but I want health care for all. Well, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
It sounds like Bernie Sanders.
It does. What has kind of fascinated me through this whole transition process, and I don't think it will, but maybe we'll see it change now that he's in the White House, is what they're allowing him to get away with.
Right.
And if the president is that powerful, then it really scares me.
Well,
just hear me out on this.
Yeah, no. Go ahead.
Yeah, just hear me out on this. If the president can say the sky is green when it's blue and no one's going to question him, then where does it end? I think it gets really, really scary. So it's not okay that he didn't release his tax returns. It's not okay that he has these whether you agree with it or not, and I tend not to, but it's not okay that he's breaking the nepotism law. It's not okay that he's having this, divisive and in many ways like crude and vulgar conversation or tweets. Not okay. And if the president is allowed to just say, oh, yes, it is, and then it is, no matter how much damage it could do or danger it puts us in as people, isn't that dangerous? I mean, that's like really saying like limitless power, right?
Well, look what he did to Boeing as an example, right?
Well,
in my state, where he complained about the expensive Air Force One. Well, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Boeing stock tumbled that day. That cost people.
Mm-hmm.
So words matter. So I absolutely agree with you. You just can't say anything and everything.
No, but and I agree with that, and I think we're both in agreement on all of this. But my real point in all this is, why can't they get him to stop? Take the fucking phone off him. Give him the BlueBerry like you gave Obama the BlueBerry.
It's not him. It's what I said in the beginning of
the
show.
But then but whether it's Trump or somebody else, if they're allowed to get away with that as president, that's scary, because I think every one of those tweets he's putting somebody at risk with them. Like you just said, Boeing. I mean, he says the wrong thing to piss off North Korea. Forget it. I mean, so how powerful is the president's office, or is Donald Trump? Because this is scary.
Well, what scares me, Nick, and I'm with you on this, is when he fabricates things, and he does it all the time, and he plays them as fact. Like
there's no truth anymore.
Using like Obama's pictures of that inauguration and saying it's his inauguration, which happened yesterday.
There's no
things
truth
like
in
that.
Anymore.
There's no truth to that, and he says these untruths all the time. But his followers are like sheep and believe him. And
but it's not just
facts matter.
The other thing is, it's not just his followers, though. It's the random non-political person who does vote, but non-political person who doesn't pay attention, 50, however many other days out of the year or the election cycles, but is seeing and consuming this information on social media and then is believing his lies or believing fake news, because that's there too. And that's a whole nother topic, man.
We need to do a show. I'd love to get an internet expert on this, on fake news, because a lot of the fake news I read comes from some remote country like Macedonia.
Yeah, it does.
A cheap way for kids to make money by generating this fake news, influencing our elections.
Mm-hmm.
And before we go today, Nick, I've got to say something about James Comey. That was ridiculous. No matter what you think of Hillary Clinton, that just wasn't fair to say you've opened a new investigation 11 days before the election, and then right before Election Day go, oh, we found nothing. And
I just don't understand
in the election. No, right.
I don't understand. I couldn't understand why Comey did it. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, I don't care. He's never shown to be political one way or the other, really. So you can't say, oh, it's because he's a Trump supporter. I think he was trying to protect his own ass, but at the same time, he potentially cost her the election.
I think he did enough votes. Let's not forget that the states that were critical were Pennsylvania, which I want to talk to you about that before we sign off.
I told you.
Michigan,
mm-hmm.
and Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. And I believe she lost those three states. Trump basically threaded a needle, right, to get to the Electoral College win. And he won, I think, those three states by like a combined, 100,000 or less than 100,000 votes. That's it. Those three states combined.
Yeah, I don't know.
Comey had a lot to do with that.
I think Comey had a lot to do with a lot of. I think it influenced a lot of people for sure. Not just in those states, but everywhere. I think. And the other thing is that about, and you could ask me about PA, but about the whole electoral college popular vote thing. If there was anything, I would have thought Hillary Clinton would have won the electoral map because they're so analytical and really deliberate in what they do in regards to their analysis. So I would think they would study the electoral map numbers and any equations you have to win of any states over and over and over. I was shocked that he won in the way he won, winning the electoral map, which I know you have to, but not also winning the popular vote, because something went wrong there.
I thought it was almost mathematically impossible to win the election by 3 million votes and lose the electoral.
No, it's California. It's California.
Right. But we could throw out Texas too, which Trump won big. So I know. I agree, but I think if you threw those two out, I think he still wins. He does. So it's just, it's really interesting that those three particular areas, he wins by 100,000 votes or less. I can't remember the final totals. I think Michigan was under 20,000. Mm-hmm. And those were prime Democratic areas. But I think a lot of hardworking white voters engaged, listened to Comey, and it really reinforced their doubts about Hillary, who, by the way, made a huge error and took those states for granted as well. Not Pennsylvania. God, they were there a lot.
Well, they always are. And I think Comey was the icing on the cake, but I think it was going to happen anyway. From being in the state and really being in the areas of the state that should have gone Clinton and went Trump.
Well, what was shocking to me, now the area you live in, it didn't shock me looking at the numbers, and I kind of followed those numbers all. Was it Luzerne County?
Luzerne and Lackawanna.
Yeah. Great bellwether for the way elections turn, and it was always for Trump, and that had me concerned because they did polling in those small counties.
Didn't it have you concerned when I told you months and months ago there were people who were actually couldn't get their hands on Trump yard signs, so they were making their own. Like, that's when I said, okay, there's something going on here, and then I just couldn't see a Hillary sign anywhere. And then anytime you'd mention Hillary to a male or a female of my father's generation, they would have preferred to vote for Richard Nixon again, I think, over Hillary.
Well, let me just say this, too. As advanced as we are as a country, I still think that we have a lot of work to do, and I hate to say this, I don't think that we are ready for a female president. I realized that Hillary wasn't a strong candidate. People were tired of her, but I'm still not certain that we're ready for a female president.
No, I think it's all the candidate. I really do. Really? In this instance, yeah, because I think I think everybody, including I voted for Trump, so I'll just put it on the table. Which probably you just fell off your chair.
No,
I went to the.
Well, I knew your dislike for Hillary Clinton, so it was more a vote against her, I think, than an endorsement of him.
Well, it was I think I know for a fact. I mean, I can't say a lot of people, but a handful of people that I talked to did the exact same thing. We thought, all right, Hillary Clinton is going to win no matter what. The media, as much as they beat up on Trump, they pretty much defeated Trump or defeated Hillary in this way too, because they made it so clear that there was no way Hillary could lose that we went to the polling booth and said, or the voting booth and said, okay, well, if she's going to win either way, I'm voting straight Republican. I'm not going to cast my vote for her because I don't want to, and I'm going to vote for all Republican senators and all Republican down ballot, so that way her 4 years are as miserable as Barack Obama's 4 years, and then she's out of there. And here Trump won. I couldn't believe it, Ty. I never thought Trump. I voted straight Republican. Now, I'm a Democrat. I mean, I've always been. I voted straight Republican, thinking there's no way Trump could win. I won't press the button for Hillary, and Hillary lost. And I'm sure I'm not the only person to do that.
No, I'm sure you're not, and it is kind of fascinating. I think there were a lot of people who did that and did it in the face of numbers that showed it was impossible. Think about this, Nick. We had Bob Shrum, who is completely clued in on everything on the show. We had Joe Kubasky, Dr. Joe Kubasky on the show, who is a big-time number cruncher. That's all he does is data.
Right.
And he basically told us it was well, he wouldn't say it because he's not political.
Right.
But basically the numbers he gave us said it was going to be impossible for Trump to win. I looked at the Electoral College over and over and over and over again and just saw no way for
But you also didn't have him taking Michigan, Pennsylvania and go right up that wall or whatever.
I took that for granted. Now, Pennsylvania, which hadn't gone to a Republican since
my God, Reagan.
Yeah. So
now think about this though.
Way.
Donald Trump would come to town. Okay, Hillary Clinton would come to town, and unless she was with Joe Biden, she'd have a small crowd.
Right.
Donald Trump would come to town and sell out the arena, which is 12,000 people.
Right.
You know, I mean, it was just, and I don't want to go through it on the air. You know, as much as we do talk politics, this isn't a political show, so I don't want to go through why I feel certain people feel this way in this area, but there's no question. I think a lot of people felt in this area let down by Hillary Clinton because she ran on our coattails every single election, or every time she's ran, basically saying she was from Lake Winola, right from Scranton, PA. In reality, I can't tell you how many other places she calls home, and she's never really come back here unless it's election season. And really, this area continues to get overrun with crime, illegal immigration, and truthfully, and drugs, and no jobs. That's the way I think majority of Americans feel, and you don't have to be a white male to feel that way.
No, absolutely not. And I think also people felt taken for granted because she was so insulated for a very long time. Her team, which don't even get me started on her campaign team, kept her isolated from so many people because of the damn email. It was weird. Well, because they didn't want to have her ask questions about the emails, and that I'm so glad I don't have to hear that word anymore. But she was not allowed to get out and about, and I think that in the long run, they thought they could just run out the clock, and by keeping her isolated, it just damaged her to no end, and be repaired.
And I really think the health stuff damaged her too, because I do believe she was definitely run down by the end of the campaign, and whether she is or she's not, she was not looking healthy. And it looked like more than pneumonia. And even if it was just pneumonia, the fact that they tried to cover it up made you think it was more than pneumonia too. You know what I mean? Like, it was just
it's her team.
The shenanigans.
Yeah, I'm just shocked at how incompetent.
But now, here we are, as we're wrapping this up, we have to literally live in this new world. And it is going to be a new world, or some period of adjustment. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'm sitting here today going, okay, let's see. I mean, there's not a whole lot we can do but get engaged in the community and do things at the local level and try to create, change here locally, really. We don't have control of what's going on. It's not a leader that makes us great. It's us individually that makes our nation great. We've got to remember that.
I agree with you. And I do think Donald Trump deserves the chance just because he won, and we want, like I said in the beginning, he succeeds, we succeed. So I'm going in supporting him. I look at sometimes, like even during that address yesterday, not to put us back in the weeds of this, we're trying to wrap, but there was fist palms. I can't tell you how many times in some of the things that he said. But hopefully everything turns out just fine. And in 4 years, hopefully he does so well we want to vote for him for re-election. And if not, we get somebody else in there.
Yeah, I got to pray that he certainly succeeds. Already there's some things that he's thinking about doing that I'm against, but I certainly...
There's going to be a lot of those.
Yeah, I certainly hope that he succeeds and is successful and proves me wrong.
There's going to be a lot of those for a lot of people, but I think that people who are in that, who are not in that 30% or on the fringes, have to look at, when I get annoyed at something he does or he enacts or they enact, the Republicans, I have to look at, are jobs coming? Are we, there's certain things where I could say, okay, I need to look at him then from the economic standpoint, as long as the negatives don't outweigh the positives, because
right.
Trump, because as much as I love Barack Obama, he didn't he didn't fulfill every promise. As a matter of fact, he fulfilled less than probably half, but he did fulfill a lot, and for that, we have to be thankful.
Right. I think he did his best to keep his word. If you go back and look at the things he said he wanted to accomplish, he did. And let's face it, he didn't get a whole lot of help from the Republicans in the Senate or Congress. He got zero help. And we're not going to talk about this, but I think what happened with his Supreme Court nominee is outrageous, absolutely outrageous. And it sets the stage for another war when Trump wants to nominate somebody to the Supreme Court, because I don't think the Democrats are going to roll over.
Well, that's what's scaring me. The Democrats are still the old school Democrats, and I think that they're going to fight him on it. I think it's going to be payback time, and if that's the case, the American people are going to have patience for nobody.
None.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, right. or they're just going to go and the Republicans are going to take over everything, because Trump's going to go out and campaign for the Republican down ballot people, and he's going to reel in a lot of those people, and we're just going to continue to have the Republican majority until the minority doesn't really matter.
Yeah, unless somebody on the Democratic side, this will be interesting to see, Nick, is going to want to be Trump light. Do you know what I mean by Trump light? They're going to try to imitate him only on the left.
I hope not.
I don't think that'll work though. I just don't. So
the bluntness, yes. The policies, I don't think. I would say no. So yes, with that, Ty.
With that, Nick, America is already great. We don't need to make it great again.
Agree. I can agree with that. And now it's greater than it's ever been.
And the lounge is closed.
We're out of here.
The virtual lounge is now closed. For Beats and Eats, I'm your bartender. Until next week, stay cool.